Hello guys, I am Jericho and I'm gonna explain about experiments 7 and 8. So, the external body parts of the toad is divisible into two regions which are the axial and appendicular. First, let's have the axial region, which one of it is head. Part of the head is snout that is located at the anterior end of the head that is triangular in shape and bordered by the anterior part of the upper jaw. Next is the external nares or nostrils, which are the two small openings near the tip of the snout. Next is the eyes, which are found at the dorsolateral portion of the head, which are composed with upper eyelids, lower eyelids, and the transparent covering, which is an outgrowth of the lower lid, the nictitating membrane. And the other part of the axial region is the trunk, which is also divided into two regions, the thoracic region or chest region, which poison or parotid glands are found, and abdominal or lumbar region, which is at the end of the trunk, the anus. And the other region is the appendicular region, which one composed of four limbs, and part of it is one is the upper arm, the first segment, which is attached to the trunk, middle forearm, next segment immediately below the upper arm, carpus or wrist next to the forearm, manus or hand distal to the wrist, fingers usually four in number, and prepollux is a short stump on the inner side of the hand. And the other one is the hind limbs, which compose of thigh, the first segment attached to the body mass, shank, the segment immediately next to the thigh. Next is the tarsus or ankle, the segment immediately next to the shank. Next is pes or foot, the part of the limb distal to the tarsus. Next is toes or digits, usually five in number. Next is a web, a membranous extension of the skin connecting one toe to the other. Next is a prehalux. This is the small sixth toe and may be missing. And now we're here to the internal body parts of the toad, which are composed of two coelomic cavities, which one of them is pericardial cavity, which a small cavity that holds the heart. So, a heart is a hollow pear-shaped muscular organ which is situated in the anterior part of the body cavity in front of the liver. It has three chambers, which one of them is left atrium that receives oxygenated blood from the lungs. Next is the right atrium that receives the oxygenated blood from different organs. And lastly is the ventricle that receives both the oxygenated and oxygenated blood from the atria. So the first one is the lungs, which are primary organs of breathing. Next is the liver, which is a digestive gland considered as the largest gland in the body, occupying the anterior half of the peritoneal cavity and the ones who makes bile. Next is a gallbladder. It is a small rounded sac that stores bile. Next is a stomach, which is the bag-shaped muscular slightly curved sac posterior to the esophagus, which is the first site of chemical digestion that breaks down food. Small intestine is the long, narrow, and coiled tube, which is the one who absorbs nutrients from the food. Its anterior portion is the duodenum, which passes forward parallel to the stomach. The posterior coiled portion is the ileum. The small intestine is suspended to the dorsal body wall by its mesentery. Next is a pancreas, a long, thin, irregular yellowish organ suspended in the omentum connecting the stomach, duodenum, and liver. It is the one who makes pancreatic or digestive enzymes. A large intestine is a straight, club-shaped, usually dark-colored tube, continuous with the small intestine, and ending at the anus or vent. It is the one who collects waste and absorbs water. Urinary bladder is a membrane-like bilobe sac. It is where it stores urine. So, spleen is a rounded dark red gland embedded in mesorectum, which the large intestine is suspended to the body wall by its mesentery. And kidneys, one pair, are elongated organs, dark brown in color. They are the one who filters the blood. Next is the testes, which are a pair of elongated, cylindrical yellowish bodies lying on the ventral surfaces of the kidneys. They are the one who makes sperm. Fat bodies, which are also known as corpora adiposa, which is a finger-like yellowish bodies. For the ovaries, which are the dark organs attached to the ventral surface of the kidney, they are the one who makes eggs. Oviduct, paired white coiled tubes lying lateral to the kidneys. It is where eggs travel through. And now we're on experiment 8, which is respiration and breathing. So, larynx is a round or ovoid structure which is a voice box. Is an organ in the top of the neck involved in breathing, producing sound, and protecting trachea against food aspiration. Next is glottis, an opening from mouth into the lungs. Is a valve that controls airflow in and out of the respiratory passages. Next is the vocal cords, a pair of delicate white bands where sound is produced. Next is lungs, a pair of big thin-walled sacs which can be used for pulmonary respiration. Next is visceral pleura, is a thin outermost which is for covering the lungs. Next is alveoli, which are small thin-walled chambers that is responsible for gas exchange. Lastly, bronchi, a pair of short tubes from the larynx that acts as a passage between the larynx and the lungs. And thank you for listening and stay healthy.